Hello and welcome, everyone, back to Custom Journeys. I'm your co-host, Eliseo Iglesias,
Andrew Baines here.
and we're very excited today to bring you an episode with a distinguished guest here, Danny Martin. He is the co-founder and CEO of Esposure, the leading esports technology provider of professional sports education. He got his bachelor's degree in business, specifically small business management, and entrepreneurship. Thank you, Danny, so much for joining us today.
Oh, for sure. Definitely. Anytime you have the opportunity to share information that can impact the community and individuals within it, it's part of the process. It's part of the obligation to us all.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Danny. Again, just want to echo Eli's sentiment. So we kind of like to start with where you're at today, and then we kind of like to reverse engineer our way to how did you get to where you're at today. So I guess for starters, if you could just kind of lead off by telling us a little bit about Exposure and what your mission is, and then from there, I'll ask you some questions about how you got to where you're at today.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Esposure is an ed tech platform that focuses on esports immersion experiences. So therefore, individuals can ultimately build out their portfolios to retain jobs in the space. We do that by way of our technology platform, while at the same time leveraging our esports studios and education center here in Duncanville, Texas, which is around about 25 minutes away from Dallas, Texas. Downtown Dallas, Texas. And so ultimately for us, we leverage our educational teams, our event coordination teams, our production teams, our marketing teams, and our dev teams to teach students all components of esports from management, marketing, technology, competition, and even production. That's one of the focal points for us. We have 4-week programs, 9-week programs, and 1-day programs for students to see the ins and outs in regards to the esports industry. Currently, right now, we've procured help guide and help procure over 8 gamers that have turned pro out of our organizations. 2 of those individuals just competed for $1.4 million prize purse 3 weeks ago. So ultimately for us, we're looking at individuals who are aspiring gamers to want to turn pro, while at the same time, individuals who want to work behind the scenes like you and I.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, man, that's very interesting. So we got like a ton of questions about everything that you just said. But first, I like to me and Eli both like to ask questions a little bit about yourself, kind of like your childhood, and then like leading up to what how'd you start your company? Just so like listeners and viewers can kind of relate to you a little bit more and know, hey, I'm from a similar community, same background. Maybe I want to pursue something similar to what Danny did. So just a few questions about your background. Number one, so you're in like the downtown Dallas area right now with Esposure. Are you from the Dallas Fort Worth area? Or is that where you kind of grew up at?
Yes, I'm more so the South Dallas area, highly minority driven. I grew up in Oak Cliff. Also, I went to schools. Oak Cliff is it's it's a rough place. And ultimately, I went to schools in that area. TD Marshall, Bow Story, middle schools. I didn't go to South Oak Cliff High School. I went to Lancaster, which is up the street from it, due to the fact that it is known for track and athletics. And so I lived with my grandmother as my mother worked and traveled, and that was my opportunity to attend that community in those schools. And so grew up playing sports. I was heavily influenced in sports, playing basketball, running track, and I was a tinkerer as well. I like to be able to build out sound systems in school. Entrepreneurship was everything for me in school. When I get out of practice, I had my own lawn care and business. I would actively cut yards until the night failed, where I couldn't be able to cut yards anymore in high school. And then and I even had a staff at that point in high school, where I had like four of my high school friends, and after school we would hop in my truck and attach the trailer and tackle our list of yards. That was my introduction to entrepreneurship in high school. And I also would utilize that same truck to after yards with the lawn care, I would put a barbecue pit on the back of it and go to like local nightclubs, sell barbecue outside. And I'm like in high school.
Wow.
So I was really known as that individual who were like driven, and I love entrepreneurship. because my uncles and my family were all entrepreneurs, and they were entrepreneurs, meaning like if you go to prison, you get out of prison, you can't really find a job, so you got to figure
Gotcha.
out how to do it. And so I just grew up around them and seeing how they hustle and work to feed their families, and entrepreneurship word would always be thrown around. So I knew going into college I didn't know what my business would be going into college, but I knew it was going to be somewhere
Yeah.
around operating and developing a company.
That's interesting. I did not know all that about you. We'll kind of double back to some of those entrepreneurship questions, but so one of the reasons why I kind of found out about you was because we both attended the University of Texas at San Antonio for undergrad for getting our bachelor's degrees, and I think you were studying like business entrepreneurship at that time. So you said you didn't really know what business you were going to start, but you just knew for sure that entrepreneurship is the way you want to go. So is that pretty much the way? Is that why you kind of decided to go the business entrepreneurship route in college?
Yes, for sure. Definitely. I guess the biggest thing is that I'm a passion driven person, and I know I can learn skill sets because I'm just intrinsically curious, right? So I knew that
Yeah,
finding a skill set wouldn't be a hard thing. It's nothing I have to go to school for, or like I can figure out how to do that. I mean, granted, unless I was
hmm
if I was wanting to be a doctor or something that you need to have the educational elements to, but I knew as an entrepreneur, I have to create a product and or service and get it out to the world. And so if I'm passionate about it, I'll figure out how to do it. And so, but I wouldn't know how to actively create a organized and professional business around it. I was, growing up, I'm a hustler, So like at this
yeah,
point, going to school, you recognize like, all right, well, that ain't always going to be. You're gonna hit more roadblocks than anything. So let me go to school and learn how to professionally run a company. So that's why I went that route.
nice, that's awesome. So I got one more question along those lines, and this will kind of get into how you started Esposure, right? So you went into college as an entrepreneur, and you want to be an entrepreneur. How did you get to the point where you created Esposure? Can you kind of give us that story of like the origin story, basically, of
Yeah,
Esposure?
for sure. So I was in University of Texas San Antonio, and as I stated, I ran track for University of Texas San Antonio as well. And I was at CAF. I was at the CAF, and one of our track athletes, my teammates, was experiencing a system failure for his Xbox, and at that moment, it was red rings of death. He did not know how to fix it, and so that was my light bulb. I was just like, if he's
Gotcha.
experiencing this, I can guarantee other individuals. And the conundrum was he would have to send it over to Microsoft, and it would take a long time. And he wanted to play his game, so he had to battle
Yeah,
like getting it repaired and breaking the warranty so he can get his game back in order. So I was just like,
yeah,
this is a conundrum. If I can figure this out, then that'd be awesome. And so, I actively found someone who can fix the consoles, and I took his console to that individual. I sat there and watched him complete it. He would reflow the system, change the optical drives, even just opening it up, but is a challenge in itself, opening the console up. And so after he did, I was like, wow. I timed it, and I was like, wow, this is pretty dope. But I also knew I couldn't do it on myself just yet. So what I did was I would go on campus, and I would create marketing material, and I would go knock on dorm to dorm to dorm, go into the main area, and then just say, hey, ask everybody that I came across. So like, is your console fixed? Is your console broke? Like, are you like,
yeah,
are you experiencing any problem? Like, I was that annoying person, and people would be like, yeah, or I haven't used my PC. I mean, I haven't used a console because of X, Y, and Z, but I can fix it. And there's people look at me on campus like, I'm not gonna just give you my console. Like, I'm not gonna just give. What do you think? I'm crazy? And so eventually,
yeah,
individuals would start trusting me, and I would take the consoles to the facility that was about 35 minutes away from campus, and I would just sit there and watch the individual fix the consoles and just learn. I was a sponge, so it was a healthy relationship because I would bring him business and I would also learn. So over time,
gotcha.
over time I had the ability to ask him and say, hey, can I, start this myself? and do it out of my dorm room in the University of Texas, San Antonio. And he was just like, dude, I can't stop you. You done so much for me. You really helped, and I know you're just a go-getter. And so he just really showed me how to get the right equipment and the manufacturers. And then I took all the equipment that I could and purchased it. I did it out of my dorm room. And so at that point, individuals on campus could actively just knock on my door on campus and then just hand me their laptop, their console, everything that they had. And then I was just that repair person on campus. And that was the way I made my capital, and that was the entrepreneurship entry for me on campus. And my teacher, my professor, Dr. Anita Luffel, she seen that I was doing this business because it was at one point I partnered with a facility to do an esports tournament. And I was able to do tournaments because when somebody gives me their consoles, I'm able to see how long they play, how good they play, what game they play, how they look when they gave me the console, how their experiences when they got their console back. And I can leverage that data to host tournaments with, right? So if someone gives me if somebody gives me a console that's Madden inside of their FIFA, I actively know, okay, I can write their name down. If I want to do a FIFA tournament, I can reach out to them and say, hey, I'm doing a FIFA tournament. And they will reach out to all their friends. And so that was an easy marketing element for me. And so at that point, there was an instance where I was doing a tournament on campus, off campus. And I guess somebody kind of was following me and knew, they basically, as I was asleep, I finished the first day of the tournament. As I was asleep, I got a call late at night, and someone had rammed the truck in the building and stole all the equipment. So it hit news in UTSA and in San Antonio, and my teacher was like, dude, you're becoming, a lot of people is knowing about what you're doing, and you got to get on social media and such and such and such. Because I wasn't on social media at that time. And she was like, people know you. So do this, and I'll help you with your business. And so she allowed me to formulate my business, create a business plan, understand how to pitch. And pretty much my last 2 years was geared towards running my business. While in entrepreneurship class for Dr. Nita, she'll allow the students to create their own makeshift businesses, like come up with a business idea and we will formulate it from there. Well, she allowed me just to do my business. And she was just like, hey, this is your moment to formulate everything that you need business. So that was like mind blowing to me because that's why I went to college, that's why I went to actively learn how to structure a business. And so at that point, on the last year, she got an individual that was, sorry, we have a new facility and the team is coming in. So it's like, I haven't seen this individual in a long time. That's awesome. So yeah.
Danny,
cool. That's organic. That's natural.
Danny, real quick, what was the name of that professor? You kind of cut out.
Yeah, it was Dr. Anita Leffel.
Anita Leffel.
Yeah. She's an entrepreneurship teacher. So she was definitely there. She also established the entrepreneurship site program, CITE program.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, gotcha.
So yes,
I have a quick follow-up for you, Danny. So it sounds like at a very early age, you've already had an enterprising spirit, right? I wonder, and this is a theme that me and Andrew talk about all the time on the pod. How much of the knowledge base and wisdom of starting an enterprise did you learn kind of with hands-on experiences, and how much of it did you learn in the classroom? Or both?
Ooh, it's both. Yeah, it's really both. I tell individuals that, I went to college to help polish myself, right? But in order to grow, you have to have hands-on experience. You have to be in the field, as we say. Like, you got to be in the field. And that's why I love the structure that we have here at Esposure. It's literally allowing individuals, you can only get so far with taking a test and saying, here's my results of this test. You actively have to show application. And in this industry of esports, most of the individuals have had to go volunteer, work on tournaments and, run brackets or do marketing, social media, game all day religiously, just before they get that winning tournament. So the nature of the industry is about application. And so we really wanted to keep that same type of structure. So therefore, if we give individuals opportunities to apply and then create a portfolio, then it helps them showcase their work And that's the biggest dynamic that we are focusing on here. So it's a little bit of both, and it's a lot of bit of both. so like when it comes down to it, I lean heavily towards application, like literally being in the field and showcasing what you've done. Because a lot of people talk, unfortunately how the world is, but if you can really back it up with experience, you can outbeat a lot of individuals when it comes down to getting to where you're trying to go.
No, exactly. It sounds like you had already experience with product development, marketing, building a customer base. It's just that in school we formalize these things, right? And we define these things
Yes.
and introduce more methods to expand on those things. So I think that's a very interesting dynamic that you're talking about. Andrew, if you don't mind, I'd like to jump into esports because we're both very curious about this ecosystem.
Yeah, so I guess the only thing is like if you just finish that story real quick about like how you actually created Esposure first before you get into like the details of the esports.
Yeah.
So like you saw the opportunity, your professor saw the opportunity,
And
then you actually started to take it, I guess, a little bit more serious and formalize the business. So what was kind of the next step from there?
Yeah, for
first?
sure. So she stated, "Hey, you're ready. I know somebody that's in San Francisco, Silicon Valley." She said, "If you can go ahead and get yours, I'll let you graduate early. Basically, take an extra amount of courses. So therefore, I can get that." He just raised X amount of million. It was like maybe like 10 to 14 million at that time, and he was just like, I know him. He wants you there. But he's about to start he's about to start his company, and you need to graduate fast. So she just let me just pow my courses on that last year, and she said, "I'm not going to just let you, I'm not going to just make it easy for you. I'm not going to I'm not going to let you slide. You still got to make this particular grade. I know you got a lot on your plate,
Gotcha.
but if you just dig it out for this last semester, I'll make sure that you can graduate pretty earlier, so you can go to San Francisco. So you can move to San Francisco." And at that time, I was taking care of my brother. So my brother was in high school, and no, my brother was in he was a freshman in high school while I was a junior in college. So he lived with me. He was in Dallas, but he was getting into a lot of trouble in our neighborhood. And so my mother was like, "Hey, can you take him on?" So he moved with me in my dorm room in college. So I had to enroll him in the schools in San Antonio. So I would take him to, like, when he's not in school in San Antonio, I would take him to my classes, my professor classes. So he would be in my classrooms, and my teachers knew that. So they would sometimes it would be funny because they'll know that, so they'll ask him questions. He's a sophomore in high school, and they'll purposely ask him questions. So she was like, "I know you need it. You got so much on your plate. You're trying to take care of so many people, and so if you graduate early, I can make sure that you get that job in Silicon Valley." And I did. I graduated, and I moved up me and my brother took our truck, and we moved up. We drove all the way to San Francisco with our U-Haul. And then I was able to work for that company for about 3 years and learn everything about building a tech startup from every component. I went there with the perspective of like, I want to build this tech platform that allows individuals to host their own tournaments. I was wanting to do that in high school because people was asking me, "Hey, you're making money hosting tournaments. Can you teach me?" And so at that point, I was like, "Well, I don't know coding, so I got to figure out how to make a platform." And so I started doing researches. That's when Smash.gg had just started. Battlefy, Gamer Saloon, all these platforms. So I was like, I got to create a platform like that, but with a twist. And I went to San Francisco with the thought process: if I learn from this company in tech and building a tech startup, I can eventually come in and start to do it myself. And so I spent that 3 years, learned every component, and then we experienced a pretty crazy phenomenon where Facebook really killed our whole business model. We grew Facebook, learned some dynamics that we built in our tech platform, killed our whole business model in like a week. We had like over 500,000 users, and we went from 0 to 500,000, 500,000 back to zero. And that was like a crazy phenomenon for us because it was just like we went from, growing a company where we were 40 staff members into the venture capitalists coming in and just saying, "Hey, well, y'all got to go back to the drawing board, and we only need 5 of y'all." So we're just seeing everybody, at that point get let go, and I'm just there myself with the other individuals to restart a platform, to save money, because the element is like, you still got the investment fund, so you got to figure out the next product and hurry up and get out there into the market. So that really taught me some critical things that helped me with Esposure, and that's the pandemic. The pandemic forced us to because I experienced that in Silicon Valley. When the pandemic hit and we had to change our model, I was like, I've experienced this before. Let's get to the drawing board. So for Esposure, I came back to Dallas and converted my esports my home into a esports facility to allow individuals to test the platform that we built for tournament hosting, and also to allow players to come in and showcase their skills. And so I was in the same realm of how I felt when I was in my dorm room running a business. So me just converting my home, my loft in downtown Dallas was just normal for me. And that's when I was able to test the platform, build the platform with my team, and then overall recognize a huge opportunity in the gaming space for gamers who are aspiring to turn pro. And that was specifically the NBA 2K, because as I was trying to pitch to investors for our tech platform once it was built, they were like, why are you not focused on League of Legends, or like the tier 1 titles? And I was just like, really, I just didn't grow up in that time. I didn't grow up in that area. And that's nothing against in the genres. I didn't grow up in those style of games. And, sports games and esports is kind of like on the tier 3, it's the back burner. But I seen it as an opportunity is if I can help build that community and showcase value to that community, then I can leverage that to go to other larger communities. But an investor was not trying to touch me with a 10-foot pole because the return on investment was longer, so they wanted, quicker. So I had to start it all myself. I had to fund everything, bootstrap everything myself, and really be patient and from a mind perspective of like, hey, Danny, you don't have the resources. You got to figure it out. You've done this. This is where you come from. You have a mission. Like, just get through it. Just get through it as hard as you can and figure out. But it forced me to create a solid product in the service, right? So, because if you don't got no resources, you don't got like money in the bank. you looking at how much you're losing every day. So at this point, it forces you to create a really viable product, and it makes you listen to the market. And so I was able to allow individuals, gamers, to come into the facility, listen to them. And as the individuals hosting tournaments, I was able to listen to how they loved the platform or hated the platform. They'll tell me, oh, Smash EG has this, or such and such has this. You should do this. And I'm like, I don't got enough money to do that. So you try to figure out other ways, when it comes down to it. And then that's just really, the dynamics of, where we're at today is recognizing quickly that gamers, they want to turn pro. And at that point, finally, we started focusing on NBA 2K. And then 2 years after, we started allowing players to come into our space, because everybody was competing in 5v5 on 2K, and they were all online. So I was like, well, if I can let the 5v5 come into a physical environment, then that's a whole nother element that nobody experienced. And so, like, at that point, 2K, NBA, purchased the NBA 2K League, or started the NBA 2K League. And that's when they partnered with Take-Two Interactive with the NBA 2K League developers, NBA 2K developers. And they offered for the first year a $1.2 million prize purse. And then all the gamers that would come into our space and compete, they were just like, deuce. Like, I see you. Thank you so much, Danny. But we're about to go to the league, and that's when we just started seeing the gamers that were competing in our space every day get drafted. And we were just like, all right, we can't compete with the NBA. The NBA has they have the NBA, WNBA, G League, and the NBA 2K League. And we were just like, well, the NBA 2K League doesn't have a G League. So I guess this is where we're at. Let's try to create a G League for the NBA 2K League. And then the rest is history. And that's where we're at right now. And it's just very critical to be able to not only, in order to help someone go pro, you need everybody behind the scenes to help them. You need the graphics, you need the branding, you need the social media, you need the videography, you need the photography, you need the production, you need the space, you need everything to help them go pro. So we quickly recognized, like, the people that we would need to help them, they're in high school and college, and they're looking to get into space. So this is a great time to employ them. So over time, we just recognized that we need everybody, and our company is really helping everybody build their portfolios within the space. So that's how Esposure, essentially has been created, and that's every day for our process is how do we help individuals get into the industry for the understanding that it's to support the aspiring gamers who want to turn pro.
Awesome. So there's a lot that we're going to dig into there, but especially about like all the different pathways to getting into esports and the amount of money you can make by being in the esports world. But first, I'm gonna kick it over to Eli so he can ask you a little bit more specific questions related to like your day to day life and like what's the day in the life of like for Danny Martin.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Eli.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah, what's a day like? Working at the esports facility for Danny Martin.
Oof, it's fun because our staff is young. 75% of our staff is under the age of 25, right? These are individuals who've been with me when
Wow.
I've gone into high schools, and I remember going into high schools and literally going to a teacher and saying, "Hey, can I come do a presentation in class? I'm looking for a graphic designer, or I'm looking for a videographer." And I'll do a presentation. Everybody hangs like, "Yeah, I got it. I want to do it. I want to do it." You got a portfolio, and then those same individuals are still with us today. The individuals I picked. So it's like it's a testament to the skill sets. Hey, do you know Adobe, or do you know Final Cut, or do you know how to hold a camera, or do you know how to run a bracket? Those are questions that I would ask when I would go in schools. And so see our team really still here, and see them now being able to do productions and events and engagements for NFL or NBA or ESPN or endemic and non-endemic entities within the space is crazy to experience. And so when you think about it from our perspective, a day in the life for me is being in the facility, engaging with our team, making sure everybody is on, because again, they're young, so there's an element of soft skills and hard skill growth as well, professionalism.
Right.
So I'm really here to be that authentic individual to them to say, hey, think about this, because what may work here, or what I may be relaxed on, you may go out into other parts of the world where it's not as relaxed. So at this point, just know it's just as much as you're good at what you do. It takes being professional, and it also takes being compassionate and empathetic as well. And these are a lot of skill sets that we really hone in on in our organization. And so a day in a life is really like, I won't say a glorified babysitter, but it's like trying to make sure everybody stay on track, like, and we make it fun, because we have clients.
Yeah, right.
And we have clients. So
Right.
At that point, like, we want to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward when it comes down to our clients, because I always tell them, like, I'm still bootstrapping. Like I haven't raised capital for this company yet. So in this instance, it's literally like every client can be our last. So we don't take care of our clients, then we don't have a business. You will be not here, and I won't even be here. So I think our team recognizes that, I'm just not this person that's just been given a lot of money and a lot of things, like, and I'm just kind of reckless with it. Like, I think the dynamic right now is everybody understands that we're all in this together.
Right. Andrea, I don't know, given that answer, I don't know, we should ask him the salary question. What do you think?
Yeah, that's cool.
I don't know, man. We should throw it out there. I mean, we like to be transparent. I feel like we should ask them.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Eli.
But in all seriousness, for young people that want to start their own business, I think that's one of the challenges that they will have to face: how to build enough capital and how much time to expect until you actually begin to receive some of those investments.
Yeah.
So if you want to speak to that a little
Yeah. I spent roughly about, I always tell individuals, it was literally about 8 years of building this company without even making any capital, like any profitable capital, right?
Can you repeat that again? How many years?
8 years, yeah.
How many years?
Eight. Okay. It's like, and to be completely transparent, our business didn't even skyrocket until COVID hit. It's like, so in this point, we were just balancing. Like, at this point, it was investment out of money that I made in San Francisco, and then really support from my mother. Right, my mother was like, she was really a support when it came down to investment. Not nothing like critical, like crazy, like nothing like you would think, but really a support from a perspective of like, here's what you should do, here's what you shouldn't do, type of thing. So it really helped me mitigate a lot of mistakes that would have cost me a lot of money. And then also being, charisma really helps, because you have to be able to sell someone on your vision, right? So really being able to say, here's my experience. Here's also, I need your help. So when it came down to individuals would actively, in the beginning, individuals who like developers, or if you need a UI UX designer and things like that, or CFO or CTO or co-founder, a lot of those initially was more of like, hey, here's a company, here's equity, here's the amount of things that I can pay you, here's the resources that we're going to leverage to get the capital, while I'm not even making any money, you know? So in this instance, like for me, it was a thought of me making money was I had to figure out other ways. I know initially I was doing Bird sometimes. I would, do DoorDash sometimes while I'm running this company, like literally,
Gotcha.
I was doing all kind of side jobs. I was using my truck to go to pick up car parts in between meetings just to make $100-$200 a day for food, right? That's crazy to think about,
Yeah.
like this not that long ago, this is like 4 years ago, 4 years ago. And that was the element of myself not making capital. But when it came down to, as we started growing, then it was opportunity to say, all right, those same high school students who eventually started saying, hey, yeah, I got to get some capital. Then it was ultimately like, okay, well, here's what I can do. I can do $2,000 a month for you, or as you grow, I can do $3,000 a month. I literally look at it as I run a company, in our sections, everybody gets paid the same based off of their sections, right? So in this instance, it keeps very transparency with everybody a part of our team. Now, granted, we're not at a point right now where we're giving $100,000 a year salaries. No, we're not at that point, but definitely around the 46 to 60K salary per month. That's where we're at. That's our sweet spot right now. We're at, and like I stated, we literally just was able to say we have a viable product and it's needed right now in the space. And that's right after COVID. So like we're not that long into it, and we're growing exponentially. So, I'm able to give raises now, which is really, really cool and experience for our team as well. So I hope I answered it in the most professional way without giving too much, but that's
No,
definitely
man,
where it's at. And we see coming in entry wise, it's around, like for me personally speaking, it's if I'm to bring in someone, I'm typically around the $2,000 to $2,500 a month, and then it scales from there. This is someone coming in saying, "Hey, I'm a new videographer or a new photographer, or a new social media strategist." I bring them in, and that really helps me on two ways. It's one, it lets me know that this person is serious, and then they can take me serious and our company serious. But it also, if they're not serious, I'm not out, not out of capital, and it kind of balances itself out because some individuals are not just as passionate as they can speak initially. So I really got to get through that phase of like, are you really intrinsically curious on how to do and grow within the space, or you're just here just to say, hey, you're doing something. And our team is too tight to let that, because they will let me know. They'll be like, hey, guys, just chilling, and we out here working all day. Our company is a little bit different because it's not like a structure. It's not like a standard company. Like our hours are all over. And then the videographers and photographers, they like to work from 5:00 p.m. to 2-3 o'clock in the morning. Our dev team, we have some dev teams that are in different countries, and so it's a whole different time. Our marketing, everybody, I'm pretty much up all day because I gotta engage with everybody, So it's interesting to be able to see. But yeah, from a salary perspective, everybody has their entries, and we're hoping right now that we can. That would be the biggest reason that we would want to raise capital, is that we can actually give individuals like some really dope salaries. Everybody's comfortable from a salary perspective, but I feel like they've been here and they deserve it. Like they deserve to be able to have 100, 60, 100, $150,000 salaries.
Gotcha. No, that'd be great, and I'm glad that you're thinking that as a CEO and a people leader, like taking care of your people, especially the ones that have been down since day one.
Yes.
One question I do have, you hit on a lot of good points back there. I feel like I study entrepreneurship in my spare time. I guess this podcast is like my hopefully first successful entrepreneurship
I
endeavor.
love it.
But you talked about basically, like staying down, working hard, even throughout all those challenges, and even dealing with those humbling experiences of like having to do DoorDash and do part delivery and stuff like that. Um, can you speak to? So let me back up. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and she talked about how she's been planning and she's been watching Earn Your Leisure and planning to do like start her own trucking business and things of that nature. And she plans really good, but she's just always scared to take that next step of like actually doing it. Can you speak to your experiences of dealing with fear and other impediments that have kind of slowed you down throughout your career? But can you speak to like overcoming that fear aspect of being an entrepreneur and taking those big leaps of faith? And maybe you can provide some tips also about like how to overcome that fear.
Oh man, that's actually a really thing. That's a really good thing. It's black and white for me, and and the concept of black and white for me is I don't like doing something that I have to watch the time because I'm ready for it to end. Like I would not love. I do not want to work where I'm looking at the clock and I'm like, is it time to go? That's my black and white. If I'm not looking at the clock, I'm like, I know I'm in it, I'm invested, and you have to force me to stop working. Like you have to literally be like, Danny, it's not healthy. Like I get people to be like, Danny, this is not healthy. And they say it so nicely. They be like, Danny, it's not really healthier just to be up all night. And then you got meetings in the day.
Yeah.
But if I'm in that zone, I'm in that zone. And if I'm not in that zone, you can tell. You can tell because I've become a different person. Because that's my black and white. So the fear is for me is not as much of a fear. It's more of like I don't like it, and I'm gonna go and figure out what I do like. And I will be patient if it's not immediately. Like I will figure out how to eat ramen. I'll figure out how to do DoorDash. I'll figure out how to make it work. So I can go do what I want to go do. And that's just naturally how I've been. So it's not so much of a fear. It's just more of like I don't like it. I don't like it. So I'm going to go and figure out how to go do it. And the faster I can go do that, the faster I can be in the comfortable state that I am. I feel like Esposure is where it is because I'm incredibly passionate about what I do. Like that's where so the challenges and the obstacles, instead of them being like, oh, like obstacle, I'm looking like, okay, well, if I really want to do this, I better figure it out quick, and being humble to know that you're a human and you're going to make mistakes. And I made thousands of mistakes. I make mistakes every day, and ultimately it comes down to, and when you make a mistake, everybody gets to see it. You don't get to live in a mistake without nobody seeing it. And so you got to live with that too. You got to be humble enough to be like, all right, you got to be able to quickly say, I made a mistake. And it's like, all right, I made a mistake. Here's the next thing that we got to do. Like, made a mistake. Here's the next pathway that we got to do to correct this mistake. And I've learned now it's better to have a plan after your mistake than excuse. And I don't like hearing excuses from anybody. That was one thing. When growing up, I'm like, when people tell me, I don't want to hear your excuse, I would be like, I got an excuse. You better hear it, Now I'm like, ain't no excuse. You better figure it out, I kind of changed now. It's funny.
That is cool, man. Your response is interesting because to me it seems like it's two ways I can interpret that. One is that like your fear of having, I'm using the word fear, but your passion for doing what you care and what you love for greatly outweighed anything else that like your fears or doubts that they didn't really matter. Or you could also rephrase that and just say, hey, like your fear was not necessarily failing, but your fear was having to do something where you're having to watch the clock and be like, oh my God, is it 5 o'clock? Can I go home? Is the weekend here yet? So I'm really glad to hear that you're like really a passion driven person. I got one more like follow up to that before Eli takes over again. So like if like I said, I'm trying to learn how to be an entrepreneur. Me and Eli both are here in this podcast space. So I know I'm passionate about this podcast because I'm like you. I'm up at like 1 or 2 in the morning working on the podcast, or it's like 3, 4 o'clock, and I'm like, oh snap, I'm supposed to be working on my day job, but I'm over here working on this podcast. I hope my supervisor doesn't listen to this episode. But anyway, what tips can you give me to be a successful entrepreneur? Like I have the passion for something now. So what's the next step? Like what are the tips you can give me to be successful at what I'm pursuing?
Great. what you're doing, there's a community around it. Make sure you're in that community, learning from the individuals within that community, point blank, right? In esports and gaming, it's such a small community. It's growing, but it's a very passion-driven community, and everybody talks. And so in this instance, you actively have to be a part of those conversations. And those conversations, it's almost like, I don't know if I can say this on this podcast, but it's almost like the good old boys club, and every industry has them, right? Go within that club, find out how to get in that club and learn, like learn. And that is going to be the best way for you to progress as an entrepreneur. It's literally being able to be at that table. They say, they say the imposter syndrome, right? There's a thing where, especially for African Americans, and even I had to battle this and sometimes, but eventually I just like, I'm smart just like everybody else, probably even more, right?
Yeah.
And then before that, you're like, do I even supposed to be in here? Like, why am I in here? That's how I kind of felt at San Francisco too. When I went to San Francisco and worked the company, I was only African American there, right? And the people that were there, the people on the team, Carnegie Mellon graduates, Facebook, leaving Facebook to come here, like everybody. I'm like UTSA, and I'm African American.
Black guy from UTSA,
it's like UTSA. We're still go to UTSA, but I started to be like
the one that's the Longhorns, right?
Yeah, Longhorns.
No, not that one. The little brother.
The little brother over there.
That's the worst when people be thinking, "Oh, you're from UT Austin, right?" I'm like, no. There are different schools.
It's like sometimes I'll be like, yeah, just like. Sometimes I'll be like, no.
Just roll it. Just go it.
Yeah, sometimes you got to just go with it. But then UTSA had a football team, and I was like, okay, I know they know football town. So I was like, so that's I can't really say, oh, they got a really great entrepreneurship program. I'm like on the map, like it's a hard sell. So like when it comes down to it, it's like being in the room with individuals, and and imposter syndrome is real, and you should take that serious. But after a minute, you're like, I think I can hang, I can be in here. I can add my opinion, my voice. And once you start adding your voice and your opinion, you start to get respect. And then at that point, individuals will open up more to you. So therefore you can learn. So then you just battle between being cocky and unruly and losing empathy. And if you sustain that and you're in those rooms, then you can learn incredibly fast. And faster than you would ultimately think of, and your company and your podcast and your team will grow because of your genuine nature to want to be able to help and give help, and also receive help. All of those dynamics come together would really help you be help you guys be awesome, entrepreneurs and even also staff members and employees. Like, I'm not even opposed to work for anybody. Like sometimes I'll be like, man, I love to sit back. The pressure of being an entrepreneur is heavy. They got a payroll every month, and people looking at you like you got to make you. It's definitely not for the faint-hearted, but just making sure that you're aware of all of those elements, and never ever think that you're too smart to learn something. That's the biggest dynamic. That's the best advice I can provide.
Awesome. Love it. Eli.
Yeah, those are all fantastic points, Danny. Thank you for bringing all of those points up. Definitely, there's a lot on top of all the hurdles of being a person of color. On top of that, just the hurdles of starting your own business, right? Oh, yeah. is immense. So I just wanted to we talked about all the hurdles, but for anyone that maybe is intimidated by the prospect of starting their own business, what are the perks of having your own enterprise?
Wow. The perks would be you get to provide. There was so much time that I didn't make any capital, and I feel like I'm trying to expedite someone else's journey that may have been like mine, right? I'm basically like, all right, I have the means to help your journey move faster because I know you're in the same spot that I was in. And I look at that as far as our team members, our staff members, but also the competitors who come enter in our tournaments and our leagues, and the individuals who do contract work, and the individuals. So like I kind of think about everybody, and right, the students that come through our program. How do I go out and put some content out there or create a technology platform that helps expedite your journey, because I know where you're at that point. So that's the perks of being an entrepreneur for me. It's literally you are there to make someone's life easier, but still challenging at the same time to retain the elements of you just didn't get it handed, like making it challenging enough to say you worked for it, but also being able to say, here's the journey, here's the process, here's the things that you need to learn in order to be successful. Just like the ending question that Andrew provided is here's the lessons, and here's the ways to, if you just get it easy, you can be a part of the culture that is unappreciative or coming off as a cocky person or so. Like you don't want to be that element, because you typically get to that point where you feel like you're owed something from somebody, or really sustaining that humble humility is very critical. So I think that's the best thing about being entrepreneurship. The money and all that, like money comes and goes. Sometimes even with this company, like after payroll, I may have $0. Sometimes I have like capital where I'm like, okay, I can go get some ice cream, or I can go think about purchasing land now, like type of stuff like that,
Yeah.
But at this point, at the end of the day, it's a roller coaster. So I don't even think about the financial elements to it. I really think about the impact, and that's the biggest benefit for me when it comes down to the entrepreneurship. Is literally being able to help the next generation do something dope. I don't want to see this industry leave. I want to be old, and I want to be in esports. I want to literally go, get on a team and be like Jerry Jones and like be in the box office.
Oh yeah,
like that's where I'm trying to go.
Chilling with the new age Post Malone at that point, right?
Very
In the box office and everything. Gotcha.
Very good. Very good. No, you did. It's just, it's so interesting and so awesome. Typically what you hear from other people is like, oh, I want to be my own boss, or I want to sit on some passive income. But you're actively wanting to open up opportunities for other people that look like you, that talk like you, right? That grew up like you. And I think that's amazing. That's why I think me and Andrew share that mission. But the reality of the situation is that we have to make it for profit in order for this mission to be viable.
Oh yeah,
that's just the reality. We don't have access to capital. We don't have access to big pockets. We have to do it this way. And we just talk about that offline, me and Andrew. But it's amazing that all the work you've done to make this happen.
Yeah, and like to piggyback on that, that whole capital perspective. What I've learned now is that when we first started, I was going around asking investors for money, they're saying all these in these terms. And I was just like, it just doesn't fit. I'm not subjected to that. I can go figure it out on my own. Once you figure it out on your own, then you become valuable. Then you can be able to lead the charge and the conversation. So even right now, we're not even investing. I literally go and say, here's our worth, if you don't want to go for this, then no. And I'm basically okay with being able to say no now. I don't have to go for because somebody says here's 6 million or here's 5 million or here's 10 million. I don't have to accept that. I can be like, no, we're worth 50 million. And if you're going to go for that, here's our terms. A lot of people don't, because it's not advantageous for them, but it's going to be somebody who does, and it's going to be advantageous for them. And being impatient can get you in the wrong deals, and it can ultimately impact your company to the worst degree.
Or desperate.
Yes, exactly. So really focus. I tell individuals, focus on your product and service more, like Elon Musk is. It's like, focus on your product and service. And if you got a good product and service, those negotiations would be better, right? We haven't taken, because each person we talk to is a better deal. So we're like, when are these deals go? Like we gotta like something gotta happen where we're gonna have to accept something, or our competitors are gonna come in, just really take over. So these are decisions that we have to make, and
ding 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 ding. No, and now I'm just saying that you just turn that disadvantage into advantage. That you want to put yourself in a position where you won't be exploited.
Yes.
Right. Just because you need investments.
Yes.
So this entire different conversation is just, I'm glad you brought that point up, because that's a very good point. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, for sure.
So we got 19 minutes. I'm keeping my eyes on the clock. So we're going to try and be respectful of your time, but we got a ton of questions we want to ask you.
For sure. Go ahead and knock them out.
Hey, so Yeah, we can't go the whole interview without asking you and learning more about esports first, right?
Yes.
So a little bit about myself. I'm a father of two. I got a 3-year-old and a soon to be 1-year-old at the beginning of October. Um, and so I'm thinking about like their careers, like their futures, right? Like I want them to grow up to be good, successful men, have leadership roles in their community, give back to their communities, things like that. Um, but I'm not aware about like all the career options that are out there, and then even the ones that'll develop in the future. So for somebody who has a kid that's like a little bit that's older than my kid, somebody who has a kid that's in high school and middle school, um, what can you say to that parent to try to convince them to let their kids pursue a career in esports? And what different career opportunities are there in esports?
Oh yeah. So that's a really good question. And one of the biggest reasons about, bringing our esports studio to the southern sector of Dallas, there's 7 ISDs in our area. Duncanville, Cedar Hill, Red Oak, Dallas ISD, Waxahachie, and maybe missing some Lancaster. And they all didn't have esports programs, right? So we actively built our facility in this area because we knew that, if we can showcase esports, then it would spark the knowledge of it will spark the interest and allow the admins and administrators and mayors and council to know what esports is in the real. That way they can carry that information and start to establish their own esports clubs and programs, and that's how you impact the students. So we would use our space we use our space, and even this new space, we're using it as an educational hub. So parents, teachers, mayors, political figures, celebrities, investors, founders, whomever can come into the space and learn about esports and the way that they particularly want to enter into the industry by way of classes, programs, events, all sessions and networking events. We can do that all here, both physically and virtually. So therefore, a parent who's interested in where they say, and Timmy, he's playing a game all day, and I'm nervous of his eyes.
Wasting his time.
I'm nervous of the time he's wasting, and he's just in his house. Danny, what can we do? It's like, oh, well, here's the actual event that you can come to, or I typically would do this. I'll spend an hour talking to a parent about, hey, there's blue light glasses. I have them on right now. They protect your eyes. Hey, there's the careers in esports. It's broken up into genres. 5. There's management, marketing, technology, competition, and production. And management, you have head coach, you have coaches, you have general managers, and you have individuals that's operating the organization. You have founders and such like that. When you think about the marketing side, you have social media analysts, you have CMOs, chief marketing officers, you have that of individuals who create sponsors, ship decks, your go-to sponsors, business developers. You have that of individuals who do partnerships. You have and the actual technology side, you have developers, you have individuals who are UI UX designers, front end developers, back end developers. You have individuals who manage brackets and manage leagues and tournaments and leverage platforms to do that. You have technology from a hardware perspective, and photography. You have cameras, and you have it's on the production side. You have individuals who build sets for gaming and esports. When you think about the actual production side, you have production technicians, you have ATEM directors, individuals who utilize Black Magic to put events like this. Like we're in a virtual event right now. That takes a software to do that, and takes somebody to run that software to be able to do that. That's a job in this space when it comes down to esports. When it comes down to the competition side, you actively have competitors, right? You have individuals who are part of Fortnite teams and Rocket League teams and knockout city teams and Call of Duty teams and NBA 2K teams and FIFA teams. You have leagues and tournaments that are going around your local areas. In those tournaments, you have event coordinators, right? You have individuals who run these events. And so you have, I speak to parents about all of those career opportunities in the space, and I actively allow them, I invite them so they can see it in action. Right. This facility here that we built is like essentially a field trip for students. It's like we want students to be bussed into this space and they can see a real esports organization in its action, so they can see us talk about what they do, what we do in every day, just like this podcast. And that's where you are able to provide information to parents about the elements of esports. And so I also talk to parents about the journey through esports. Like right now, when we got in, it was like gamers and individuals going straight to the pros, right? It's like you get somebody to learn and they're going straight to the pros. There was no facility there was no pipeline in regards to someone going to elementary in esports and they go into middle school in esports and they learn esports in high school and they go to college for esports. That's just now starting, right? So in this instance, is really being able to say, if you're a middle school student, what you should do, you should start streaming. Content creation is very critical in this space. So here's the streaming equipment: get OBS or use OBS Streamlabs or Riverside, and ultimately then be able to say, hey, here's my overlays. You create some graphics, find a graphic designer to create your animations and your overlays and start streaming. Use Twitch or YouTube or Facebook Gaming to start to stream. You can do this in middle school, right? And build up your ability to communicate with individuals and have an audience and showcase your collaboration skills and your unique personalities. If you're in high school, enter into esports clubs. And if you do not have esports clubs, find your local LAN center to be able to engage with. And here's the esports schools that have clubs. And if you're in college, here's the esports, or going to college, here's the esports college that are offering scholarships and these particular facets, whether it's gaming or whether it's helping them build out their actual esports programs in the college, giving information in regards to that. Currently, right now, one of the largest esports clubs in colleges, Boise State, and you also have Shenandoah, and you have UNT that's in Dallas. You have that UTD that's in Dallas. You have UT Austin has an esports. UTA has an esports team and club right now.
Nice.
Like that was not there when I was there. So it's cool to be able to see that these schools have esports programs right now, and that's the pathway that we provide to parents and stakeholders that are interested. One of the coolest things that we did that I have yet to see, or I'm starting to see it now, is that people would be like all the time, like, how did you get your cities, like 7 cities involved in esports? And it was like, for me, it was like, it was strategic. It was like, okay, well, we need to go from the top down. And so ultimately what we end up doing is that we hosted a mayor's event in our facility. And we basically allowed them to come and do their convention, like a one-day convention, and they can talk about what it's like to be a mayor. And they have all the cities coming together. And so we actually surprised the mayors. We were just we incorporated esports inside of it. So basically it was just like, while they speaking, we were basically like, hey, we got a surprise for you. The mayors, we're going to actually allow you to get up on the stage. And we had it all set up for Rocket League. We had the overlays and the production team like on point, like ready. And then we got the mayors on the stage and we put them in the gaming seats, and we had it already to where it's configured where they're on teams. So it was like Dallas mayor, on the same team with DeSoto's mayor and, the other mayors on teams. And they're like, and it's funny because they couldn't say no, because it was like, now you look bad. So like now they'd be like, we can't do this. No, you got to do it. You got cameras in your face from your people laughing at you, because they're like, oh, I know this mayor is not going to be on this game right now. So they can't say no. And at that point, once they got the feel of gaming and esports, they were like, oh, I see why my son or daughter is playing gaming and esports. Exactly. And so that now opens the communication. So now the mayors are saying, city council, we got to get esports. It's helpful for economic development. All right. The city council, like, okay, how do we get more people involved? All right, let's go reach out to the superintendents. Superintendents reach out to the educators. Educators reach out to the students. Educators also reach out to the parents. Students reach out to parents. Parents reach out to the city about what they do in esports. So it then comes all together. So now you're able to, bring esports into the city.
You're a smart man, because you really basically had the mayors do your job for you, right? So instead of you having to go to each school and try to convince them and then talk to the parents and everything like that, you went from the top down. You're like, hey, if I can get these 7 mayors on board and they love it and they see the value in it, then they can kind of preach the gospel for me versus me doing it the other way around.
Exactly.
I had one quick question about salaries. Another salary question. You mentioned the competition and the management aspect. The other one is the marketing. Though I feel like those are kind of like positions that are already kind of out there in other roles, like whether you're at like oil and gas company or whatever. Every company is going to have like a marketing department, but for esports, I think like the competition and the management component are very unique. In terms of salaries though, like if I'm a parent, I want to make sure that my kid can support themselves
Yeah.
and their family with whatever career they choose. What kind of salary on average can somebody that's like a competitive esports person, or on the management side, what kind of salary can those type of roles expect to see
Wow.
receive on the average, and then maybe on the high
Yeah.
end
So from
things?
a competitor perspective, it's really by way of what you win in tournaments and leagues starting off, like in the grassroots, we call it the grassroots scene. So going to tournaments is tournaments, like think of it like AAU or club soccer. It's like you are to enter, you travel, enter into all these tournaments and leagues, and you're hoping to make some prospers from that, right? That's
Yeah,
hearsay here though. You got Sonic Fox has won over $2 million in a year, but that's anomaly, right? So in this instance, you're not gonna 90% of individuals that are gaming are not going to make money gaming, and that is just the reality element of it. And not to say they never will. It's just right now when they get in it for the amount of years, this is where it's at. You may win some tournaments. You may win $100 here, $1,000 here, or even $50,000. When it gets to the 100,000s, 200,000s, that's when you are the best in the world. So reality
gotcha.
check, right? That's one of the biggest reasons why
Yeah.
we have a lot of people that come to us for gaming, but it's easier for us now to say, identify, you may not be the best gamer, but here are other career opportunities that you definitely fit on. And understanding gaming really helps you be much better at this particular job, right? So in this instance, when you think about salary, there's another element. So if you go to that pro realm, a pro salary, a lot of the players that have come through our company today and they've gone pro, they get salaries of around about um, $35,000 to $40,000 every 6 months, right? So about that much per year, and then they get to compete for prize person still in the league, and based off how you do, that's a $400,000 prize purse, or you're taking home $400,000 or $500,000 or $1,000,000. That's on the professional side. In the tier 3, in tier 2 and 1, let's say tier 1 titles, if you're a gamer, you are competing for $20 million prize purses, right? And at this point, your salaries
Wow.
are roughly 100,000 to 200,000 and upwards of $300,000 a year to be a part of an esports organization, like your FaZe clans, like your 100 Thieves, your Complexities, your Luminosities, all your esports organizations. They actively procure investment dollars and also sales and merchandising, sponsorships to take care of the actual salaries of those competitive gamers. Outside of the competition side, now behind the scenes, you're typically seeing, like I gave you our scope for our company and salaries on a company that has VC capital, or that has and the reason why I allude to VC capital, because this is an industry in its infancy still. So there are a lot of organizations that are making capital, but they need much more capital to sustain, like to grow in the space and to compete with the individuals that are out there, and especially if you have an esports org, right, which you're really basis off of your community and how much your fan base supports you by purchasing your tickets, purchasing your merchandise, and ultimately winning. If your team winning, then that's money in the bank. But a lot of teams have to build up to that, so they need investment to sustain it. That's why the esports industry had this like cloud over with the high valuations of actual teams and clubs, and it was due to the fact that they have to be able to grow, and you need money to grow for that particular side. And so ultimately that is what you're seeing from a salary perspective. Is on the behind the scenes is more so your $30,000 to $50,000 when it comes down to support, and this is per year for a lot of individuals within the actual space. It just really depends on what you do, but the salaries are not as high as you would think, unless you are represented by a large esports organization, or a gaming company or developer like Riot or Blizzard, or stuff like that. You're now seeing yourselves in those $70,000 to $150,000 range.
One quick question, then Eli's going to take the wheel. That 30 to 50,000, am I able to get that much money am I working like a full-time esports is my full-time job, or can I have another job and then esports I'm dedicating like maybe 3 hours a week?
Yeah,
And you can
as
just
if you're at a
give me the
job.
brief
Typically, if
versions.
you're balancing it, you're part of that gig. Like you're part of that element to where you may not be making that much because of the time that you can commit to it, right? So in this instance, if you're able to
Gotcha.
balance, it's typically on the entrepreneurship realm. I personally, for the elements of our company, I require full time, just because of the nature of being in it. Like I like to be all in, and like our team to be all in, because it mitigates a lot of um, what people are doing. Some individuals have to balance, but for me, I would prefer not to have to balance and all locked in. But that's not reality as well. Individuals have different things that they want to do, which is you have to respect it. But I would prefer everyone all in, locked in, and that justifies me giving a full time salary. But ultimately, you can
Gotcha.
be able to do it. It's ultimately you're going to have to identify your reach and the products and services and the value, and it's more entrepreneurship. So basically, that cost is really by way of how much you're able to, like as an entrepreneur, how much you're able to sell and procure revenue from their services and your products. If you're working for another company, just know that you're expecting, if you're trying to balance two and you're in an esports space, just know that a part-time would be more so of a, 1,000, 2,000 type of, $2,000 a month type of a gig and opportunity that you're experiencing. So not really expecting it to, because most companies, the larger company, like as we're growing, I'm more requiring full time. I'm really not, because I know if somebody's full time, I know that, we're on a trajectory to be able to compete with our competitors out there. And I don't really want to balance too many different things. I don't want to say, hey, you busy today? Like that dynamic is like, I call somebody at 3:00. My team knows, like, I'm gonna call whatever. They have the ability to say, I'm sleep, Danny. I'm like, okay, sorry, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I do want
Gotcha.
to have that type of, that open opportunity to contact somebody when I need to, and I have to wait in a certain time span that I can
Not
talk.
compete with their time.
Yeah, and that's just me personally. Everybody may not be like that, but that's just me personally.
Gotcha. All right, we got one closing question. I'm gonna kick over to Eli real quick.
Right before our hour runs out, Danny, we always like to end the interview, and there's so many other things I want to ask you, but unfortunately, we have to end it pretty soon.
Andrew with all
But
these
one thing,
finance questions.
exactly, no, it's a value to our audience. It's a value to our audience for sure. But so we like to end the interview with essentially an Infinity Gauntlet question.
Okay.
If you could snap your fingers, what you would change? And I really like to reel it back to your experience as a Black entrepreneur in a mostly white, mostly affluent space. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Very much so.
In this regard.
Male generated.
Male dominated space, that too as well. Now, coming from that perspective, what would you do to turn that tide, to bring in more people of color, more brown kids like me, more Black kids like Andrew and yourself into this space?
Ooh, do what I'm just doing right now, and that's on you guys' podcast. Entities like cuSTEM and other platforms that provides individuals the opportunity to talk about what they're doing is everything in this space. And the world of content creation, this is the opportunity to really showcase. If I was just by myself, all right, and if you guys didn't come to me out, nobody would know what we do. Nobody would know. Nobody would know what information, where to go. You guys are y'all are everything to any industry, and it's incredibly appreciative for the opportunity. So I think going back, it's this. It's literally doing this right now, and that's the best thing that I can give to individuals is information. Yeah, here's information. You can take it or you don't, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna give it to you because that's what helped me go to sleep. So you got to figure out like what's gonna help you go to sleep, and not in the code, like so in this instance, for me, that's how I love to be able to provide is that of the education. So that's the kind of gauntlet answer to it is that I could have given more information to individuals early on, I would have, but I only had so much information to give. So I tried to give the most that I can. And every day is about giving the most that I can. Like, I'm literally giving real time things, past time things. Like, that's the best that I can be able to do is give information. And platforms like this provides the opportunity to do just that.
Man, powerful. I love it. It gives me pride to know that we're both, all three of us, on the right path. So, man, we can't say thank you enough for taking time out your busy schedule to do this.
Yes.
I was telling Eli, I saw you had a panel right before this, so I know you're a busy man and your time is precious.
My whole team is
but,
waiting on
man,
me.
we really appreciate you coming on.
Our all hands Fridays starts at 4:30, so I got like all these people waiting on me right now.
Just tell him I was doing PR, baby. Doing PR.
Yeah.
But no, hey, Danny, definitely you have given us your all, and we're really appreciative of that. How can people reach out to you, help out the business, etc.?
Yeah, so definitely go to exposure.gg to really see all of our services. But most importantly, leverage platforms like LinkedIn. I'll use that platform a lot, and it's not just to follow me; it's actually to follow my activity. Right, I'm a little poet, but ultimately it comes down to the fact of just knowing who I engage with, who I research, who I comment, and you can see, so you can be able to go out and learn from those individuals. If you're looking to get in the industry, I try to interact and network with everybody. So leveraging LinkedIn to see what my activity is and who I engage with, it's as easy as making sure that you follow them. And asking them questions, and not just myself, but you need to go and experience other people so you can get a perspective of this industry. And I think that's the biggest dynamic. So if you want to follow me on LinkedIn, just don't follow me. Go and actually, stalk other people and learn from them just as much, because I do it.
I'm gonna cut in right here real quick because I know we almost out of time, but we definitely gonna hit you up about that because you got some heavy hitters in your network. I've been peeping them. You got a ton of Black tech CEO founders and everything like that. So yeah, we definitely gonna be talking offline to do that. But I love that statement you said about stalking people on LinkedIn because that's definitely what I've been doing. I don't care if they see it. I've been looking at their profile neither. So
can we call it doing your homework? Let's just
do your homework. Do your homework.
Do your homework.
Yeah.
I'm stalking. I'm stalking on LinkedIn. That's what I'm gonna call it.
This is awesome. This has been real.
Yep. Thank you so much, Danny, for being here. Andrew, any final thoughts?
Nah, man. Thank you so much, man. I pray for your continued success and blessings your way, man. You're an awesome dude. You're legit. I appreciate you coming on, being so transparent. I wish you all the more success. Hey, we're both in Houston right now, so it ain't nothing but a drive up 45 to come your way. So I would definitely want to come up there and see your new center and see what you got going on, and hopefully we can bring some kids with us. But at the bare minimum, we'll try to come up there and support you guys in person.
Perfect. Sounds like a plan, my man. Make sure you guys take it easy. It's been real.
Thank you, Danny. Take care.
Bye-bye.